It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Thursday, September 19th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that loves Media Day shenanigans.
Oh, yeah. No, there's some good stuff.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here with Russ Cohen, who's on all your favorite social media apps at Sportsology. We are at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter as well. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. You can find us over on YouTube. We're on the SiriusXM app or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to get our latest episode as soon as it's available here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, it was an off-ice day for the Flyers yesterday where they had their initial meetings with John Tortorella and the coaching staff. It was also Media Day, which brought so much good content. I keep wondering, which one of the things was Christine teasing to us in our interview?
The yearbook. I think the yearbook.
Yeah, I think so too, because it's a work of art, but it's also interesting in a lot of ways. They had sort of like the first day of school vibes. So they each had like the picture with the little sign like you would have on your first day of school with, what season you were in.
Well, to be fair, in my day, they didn't do that.
No, neither. I'm like, I don't even know if I ever had first day of school pictures.
Nobody did a first day of school thing. Your parents sent you out to the abyss and were happy that you were gone for 7-8 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Different times. I did, however, also love the yearbook photos with the quotes because you could read some stuff into this. I think the thing that a lot of people noticed is that Hunter McDonald was featured in that.
I'm not doing the hype. No, not buying into the Hunter McDonald hype. I don't care where he was in the yearbook. Not doing it.
But literally nobody else was in there that wasn't a regular Flyers player.
I don't care.
So now people said, "Oh, Matvei Michkov's not in there." I think that's fair, just because
it is
of does he have a quote in English he could
right?
No.
Now, it would be hard.
Would it have been fun to have a Dostoevsky quote in Russian in there? Sure, yeah. But let's give the guy a little.
No, that's fair. Actually, I was jealous because I think we'd all like a yearbook do-over with our pictures. I hated my yearbook picture to the point where I only have a proof of it or paid for those photos because they were garbage.
Yeah. Oh, literally at my high school graduation, I have one picture of me. And it's the proof from the official photographer. And that's it.
I have a good graduation picture because I looked a lot better at graduation than I did for that photo day.
Oh, fair. That's fair. But I thought, other than the Hunter McDonald of it all, I think some of the quotes were really interesting and fun too. Now, obviously, you don't want to dig too deep on this, but of course I dug too deep on this.
Of course.
And Ryan Paling's quote, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right." That's Henry Ford. And, a little problematic, Henry Ford. But,
a little bit.
So
depends
what are you going to
look
do
at
there?
It.
Yeah, I mean, there were some good office quotes. I like Scott Lawton's. That was good. Owen Tippett had a self-help guru kind of quote with grow through what you go through.
Yeah.
I think that, overall they did a really good job. I thought what they were wearing was interesting, and I'm sure it was just random, but also I want to give Bobby Rink credit for wearing a t-shirt from a bar in Bemidji, Minnesota in his
pick. Love it. Repping the hometown, right?
Rep Slims right there. So shout out Slims. Garnet Hathaway is wearing a Cage the Elephant t-shirt, which also gotta love that. Great
I don't know what
band.
that is, so me
Yeah,
would be lost.
Yeah, it's a really great band. I've seen them live.
Okay.
And then the other little fun one I thought was, well, Joel Farabee's quote, "Opinions are like mixtapes. I don't want to hear yours," was good. But as far as the picture goes, Travis Konechny, first off, his quote, "I'm not good at this,"
which is great. That's great.
Just chef's kiss. But the thing that I appreciated most about this is that his quote is, "I'm not good at this," and he's wearing a t-shirt from the Bring It to Broad marketing.
Yes.
Which
was bad. Like, we all admit that was bad.
Yes.
It got a chuckle.
So that made me happy with like the entirety of the image.
Yeah, no, I liked it. That was fantastic. And I didn't see all of them. I couldn't, but yeah, I liked it.
Right. Now, of course, the other big media day thing was the Scott Lawton and Gritty collab, where over the summer they had taken JCPenney like family photo kind of style thing. Yes. And then now they have put those photos in a collage, which this collage photo thing, which was big in like the 80s, has now come back as a trend. And they made this into one of the collage t-shirts, which they're selling through Flyers charities.
Okay, that's good. I'll give them another idea. Really good. I think there should be a Scott Lawton Gritty advent calendar for the season.
Oh, that would be good.
Oh, that's a good
giveaway. That would be real good.
Or sell
real
it.
Good.
If you sell it, give me a percentage for charity.
Yeah. And the reason why I talk so much about Media Day and all these fun things is that it's preseason. So the slate is clean and we don't have any baggage around anything. And so it's fun to talk about.
It's fun. No, it's good.
Times.
It's good old fun. I'm still waiting for the Gritty John Tortorella meetup, which has never happened yet. And I predicted it will never happen. And I don't think it will happen.
I don't think so either. On the ice, it's the bag skate today. Could be happening as we speak.
Probably is now.
So good luck to the guys.
They all know it's coming. Like they all know.
They did the official reopening of the Voorhees Flyers Training Center rink, which we had seen when we went to rookie camp, that it was like mostly together. The new store looks phenomenal.
It does. We were able to like peek. I was able to peek into it last time I was at camp, but we haven't been in the locker rooms. We don't know what that's going to look like. But I'll tell you what I giggled at: theatrical lighting. That made me laugh. Yeah. What is theatrical lighting? Is it just a bunch of cans on the ceiling? Is it to music?
It allows you to have a more fancy in-game experience.
Do they have a strobe light? Like, I don't know what they have.
Who knows? They could have some gobos. They could have some Licos and Fresnels. Look at me talk. I know lighting. Anyway.
You know too much about lighting. That's what that shows.
I do. I know stagecraft. Anyway. They're also adding a third sheet, which is not open yet. But excited for that. That's a game changer.
Well, you know what that's for. That's so they can invite in more tournaments like this USHL Fall Classic, things like that on a smaller level. But yes, that's more revenue. So
yep, absolutely. And the one quibble I have, which maybe this will change having a third sheet, but every time I go in that building, or at least like once a year, I ask like, hey, do you guys have an adult learn to play program? And the answer is always no. And that needs to change. It's not just about the kids learning hockey. Grown-ups can learn how to play hockey too.
Yeah, I guess that would be a good thing. I mean, I never took that. I kind of used the media games as that for me. So that's what I would do. But then the media games got too good. All of a sudden the Ferraro brothers were playing in the media games. And, I just said, okay, I can't play with those guys.
Yeah. A little side note, I do want to mention the news about the new Sixers arena.
Oh boy, here we go.
Which, it's interesting because there's been a lot of community backlash against it. Now suddenly the mayor is endorsing it. And so, it's not for a long time with construction.
Yeah, I wonder what changed the mayor's mind.
Yeah. Well, the threat to move to New Jersey is what changed her mind, but to some degree. But I think that, as far as how it affects the Flyers, obviously that's a big source of revenue for the arena and Comcast Spectacor, but it does give the Flyers a little bit more reign over the building.
Sure. Yeah.
But also it's going to potentially make that arena look like older in comparison.
Sure. But a friend of mine,
yeah,
Dave Waitman, who you know, he tweeted the answer. You want to know the answer? Bring the Phantoms back.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of
that could happen.
Opportunity there, because there is the bring the Phantoms back option. There's also have a women's pro team in the building option.
Sure, but it just seems like, look, I've seen your sad tweets about that. It just seems like they're not interested in Philly. I don't know why.
Well, but also, I think that depending on what the WNBA situation is as well, if they're not going to have the same ownership as the Sixers, when eventually it happens, they could play in the building.
They could, and they already have the floor, so that makes sense too.
Yeah, so there's options there, and I think there's opportunities, but again, it's down the road, like not until at least like 8 or 10 years from now.
Well, so far, teams have been known to go through courts and try and break leases and stuff. You never know.
Yeah. All right, we are going to get to the on ice portion of training camp getting going. We have some more questions that we need to get answered, and we are going to get to that coming up next.
You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon at a market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. You can cancel anytime. I'm going to say take the Browns at home over the Giants. Big Blue isn't so big anymore. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook.
So on yesterday's show, we talked about what we learned from Danny Briere in his pre-camp presser, and one of the things we talked about a little bit, but not a ton, is like who has a chance to make the roster here, like Bobby Brink and Tyson Forster did last year. And I think, who Danny Briere brought up in these conversations is really key to looking at where the organization is like focused and who's on top of mind for him. So you mentioned Ali Lixel, Rodrigo Abels, Anthony Richard, Oscar Eklund. And, we talked about the center deficiency.
The center position's not strong.
Yeah. And then, we talked about the 8D or the extra forward option, and all of that is kind of rolled in together, right? Because he also mentioned kind of Ronnie Attard, Adam Ginning, Emile Andre on the defensive side of things. And this is all one giant conversation here. And I think this is where some of the center questions are, because, at the top end of the center, the question is, will they manage Sean Couturier's time on ice better? And is that a reason we'll get an additional center on the roster instead of the 8th D?
All right. So now you're asking me, has John Tortorella learned his lesson by overplaying Sean Couturier in the first half of last season? That's a tough one, because a lot of times he's driven by emotion and doesn't care about the future, kind of looks at like what's happening now. I'm going to say he's not going to learn from it. And they maybe not play him 24 minutes, but I still think they're going to play him over 20 minutes if that's what they feel like they need to win a game.
Well, his average time on ice went down toward the end of the season, to your point.
He had to. He had no choice.
Right. And so I feel like there's going to be a happy medium here, right? Where he's going to play more than he did toward the end of last season, but less than he did at the beginning of the season. That is my prediction.
I hope you're right. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but then the question is still, do they have an additional C on the roster instead of the 8th D? Or are they going to rely on this Scott Lawton, maybe Noah Cates in a pinch option here?
Well, I mean, I could go from the John playbook, and this is what I hate, but they could put Nick Seeler as a forward and then put Noah Cates as that other center. They could do that. Does that make the team better? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. And that's why I think, this is a huge part of the conversation. If any of these like additional signing guys are going to get an option, I think, obviously Ollie Lixel is the odd man out because of
there's too many wingers.
There's too many wingers. Yeah. Because of that some of the guys who can play center and wing are going to end up playing wing and box him out of this conversation. But then you have Abels, who I think of the new signings maybe has the edge.
I think he has the edge. But again, I don't know.
We don't know yet until camp.
We don't know. I've said it 10 times. If they set him up at the bumper on the power play, they might find that they'll get some results. But this is like, again, talking about the Flyers power play, we could take up a whole show and talking about the ineptitude of it. So I don't know, but I think he has a chance.
Yeah, I think so. And so that's like a huge part of it, with the Sean Couturier aspect and the Noah Cates part of it, because I think they have to swing him out to wing. And then,
it's the only way you get points out of him.
If you only way. And then is then Ryan Poehling your 3C? And is that okay?
It's not okay. Ryan Poehling is a great guy, and I like him, and his speed's good, but he's a 4C. The minute you put him to 3C, you've changed a lot of matchups. And, I'm not trying to be mean here, but he was 3C last year. They didn't make the playoffs. You could tell me all these circumstances that you want, but if you're considering yourself a playoff team, which they shouldn't, but they will say that, him at 3C doesn't make you a playoff team.
Right. And, Torts talked a lot about Ryan Poehling and his face-off success, which not exactly true. I mean, Morgan Frost and Sean Couturier both had better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just trying to pump them up. Season. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, he was at least not even, he was only like 0.2% better than Scott Lawton at the dot, which that says a lot, right?
No, but what happens when you face, the Edmonton Oilers? He's going to get his clock cleaned. They're so strong down the middle. It's like Ryan Poehling at 3C will get his clock cleaned. And any team that's strong down the middle, that's a weakness in that game.
Right. And I think, that's, something that I talked about on yesterday's show a little bit. The face-off percentage has to go up, and they have to get stronger at the dot. And will this, I don't know what Abels looks like at the dot. So
I don't either. I'm not going to pretend.
But that'll be an interesting factor here to look at as we go.
I mean, he is a veteran, so he could be good at it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that's a huge question for me is, are they going to work on face-offs and set plays a lot? Because that's something that the Flyers, if they just got even a hair better at those things, I think that would turn into scoring chances.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm just throwing it out there, and I'm not sure what he's doing these days. But, baseball has a thing called roving instructors, and they bring them in just for spring training. They bring in some older, very veteran players that were great at something. Bring in Joel Otto and let him work on guys on faceoffs. Like, that guy was incredible. I don't know if he's working now. I don't know what he's doing. But if he has a free 2 weeks, I'd bring him in.
Yeah, I think that it's just something small, but it's a specific skill that could lead, again, to additional scoring chances. And I think that's something that would really help the Flyers because, again, you look at who was above 50% at the dot. It's Sean Couturier. I mean, there's a couple of guys who had very few.
Oh, no, that's a part of his game that's still good. His half-court game is still really good. It's just the other parts that suffer a bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, the other questions, which we started to talk about yesterday is, what are the roles for Noah Cates and Bobby Brink this season? Because, like I said, we just talked about Noah Cates and is he going to be a center? Is he going to be a winger? But is Bobby Brink a third liner sit guy?
I mean, he'll go into camp with that chance. Bobby Brink still has to win a job. This is an important year for him. He didn't really prove a whole lot last year, and his contract's getting thin. And so, they're going to have to make a decision on him soon. Yeah,
I think this is a huge, huge season for Bobby Brink. And with, everything else going on with, the introduction of Matvey Michkov and, trying to figure out the wing groups and which centers are going to go where. I think, Bobby Brink has the chance to get lost in the shuffle, but he can't.
No, he can't.
He absolutely
if he
can't.
gets lost in the shuffle, he'll end up getting traded.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate because I do think he has the skill to make it. It's just like, is he going to be given the consistent opportunity to really grow in whatever role he's given?
That's fair. Yeah.
Another big question I have is there a shot that they would waive Nick Deslauriers given all of this logjam?
All right. Here is my 100% lock on the season. There is a 0% chance the Flyers waive Nick Deslauriers because of what Danny Briere has said about him protecting Matvey Michkov on the ice. His job is safe now. Should it be? No, but it is.
Yeah, which is interesting because they shouldn't be on the same line ever. So it's like Nick Deslauriers gets thrown on the ice the next shift, and
he'll be
somebody
on, he'll play 7 minutes a game on his line.
Yeah. Don't love that at all. All right, we're going to talk more about that and answer some additional questions. Plus, talk a little bit about where Russ is right now.
Where am I? I have a blurred background. You don't know.
We are going to do that coming up next. Some of the best concerts of the year take place in the fall, and it's my favorite time to head to a show. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite concerts even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of ticket listings. My favorite part of the Gametime app is that it's great for getting notified about flash deals and super deals, so you know you're getting the best bang for your buck. Best of all, they have all-in pricing, so there's no surprise fees at checkout when you activate the feature. Also, tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through email. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. So, yeah, I do want to talk more about this Nick Deslauriers situation because I think there's other guys that can handle that. And that's where I branch off from what traditional thinking would be. Because, Nick Seeler, while he's not a fighter the way he was, I think he's gotten a little smarter and picked his battles, so to speak, a little bit better over the years. I think that, Garnet Hathaway is there, and I would rather have the slightly better skill of Garnet Hathaway on the ice more often than Nick Deslauriers. So it's not like there aren't other guys on the Flyers that can provide that role. And Nick Deslauriers, at least from what we know over the last 2 years, not only doesn't provide a ton of offense or even just like stability, he's just not getting any better, let's say.
But he could penalty kill, Rach, and that's what they're going to do. Once in a while, they'll put him on the penalty kill to give him some
So can
minutes.
A lot of other guys on this team. I think the penalty
disagree.
kill, we saw the penalty kill last year, and Nick Deslauriers was not a huge part of that success.
No, listen, I mean, Hathaway can do everything he can better. So, yeah, it's just a wasted spot on the roster in my estimation. But again, I believe they're just justifying his salary and his spot because there's not a huge market for him out there, and they're still paying him for a few more years, Rachel, and you know how that works.
I know. It's just really frustrating because I think that there's other really skilled guys that can provide that role, and I think that the Flyers would be better off using those higher skilled guys in these positions. But, again, we'll see how it goes. If they start double shifting Michkov and put Deslauriers out there for the double shifts, maybe that's something that we'll see.
Oh, he won't be able to last a game for that or last a season. No way.
Yeah, well, you never know. I think another question that I have right now and remains to be seen based on camp, based on preseason games, has Igor Zamula earned moving up the lineup in the D pairings based on his play from last year? And, or is he just stuck in the third pairing right
He's
now, which
stuck
is
in the
not
third
bad.
pairing. No, but like,
Yeah,
who's he gonna unseat?
I
Is he
know.
gonna unseat Cam York? No. Who's he gonna unseat?
Well, I mean, he could theoretically unseat Nick Seeler in the right circumstances, but it'll just depend on usage. And if Zamula starts picking up some of his offensive play, like if he gets like some good shots going from the point and help in the cycle a little bit more than he was last year, I think that's where he could earn it. But I think for now he's just kind of planted on the third pairing.
He's there, but look, he's a good player. He's turned into a nice player.
I know.
I think again, I've liked what he's done. He's also going to help with Michkov and him and although, like I said at the rookie showcase, Fedotov was really helping Michkov around, and he's an older guy too. He's like 27. He's got a wife, so it wouldn't shock me if he's the guy that actually mentors him a bit.
Yeah, well, you need somebody that's like a sibling, and you need somebody that's like an uncle, and I think that's what he has.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's a really good thing. But yeah, I just think this is actually really good for Zamula in a lot of ways, just because I think there's opportunity there to prove himself a little more. But I think he's not going to get sat unless something goes.
I don't see how
wrong.
You can now. Like if they sit Zamula for Eric Johnson, I'll just laugh. That's all I can say.
Right. So, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's just not going to happen. So I think he has another year here where he can grow his game with really good opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, he had a good season. I think he snuck up on everybody because he had such a good season.
Yeah, I think so too. So looking forward to seeing how he develops. Real quickly, I do want to mention, Russ, you are on the road right now at the USHL Fall Classic. So what is that, and why is it something that Flyers fans should care about?
Well, it's the beginning of the season for the USHL. They have all their teams here at Lemieux Rink in wonderful Pittsburgh, the home of
or Cranberry, Pennsylvania,
the home, but Pittsburgh, the home of the dying Pirates, as they always are. But this tournament's big, and there's, tons of scouts here and a lot of good talent. And I saw a little of Heikki Ruohonen yesterday playing second line center for Dubuque, and he looks pretty good out there. So I'll have more of a report when I see a little more of them. And there's other guys. I was watching Adam Binak, who, some have slated as a first rounder. I'm not sure because he is 5'7", 154, but he did score the game-winning goal, so he certainly helped his cause yesterday. And there's a lot of talent here, and like I said, a lot of scouts. The Flyers guys I usually show up. Their scouts are here, but Briere and Jones will show up probably Thursday, probably Friday. Because they'll want to see the NTDP, so they'll show up then. I always see them at that point. So, but they have their scouts here too. So everybody's here, and it's a big tournament with lots of eyeballs.
Yeah, I think we mostly because Russ, you're a prospect guy, but we start our prospect coverage much earlier than most people do, pretty early on in the season. But this is like one of those tournaments that kicks it off. And to your point, the national team development program is there, and there are always a ton of eyes on that group.
There's a big box office here. Like you literally have to get to the rink like an hour early just to get a seat.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is pretty impressive. Yeah. So, obviously a lot of guys from that squad get picked in the draft.
Yes.
So people want to see their development over the course of the season. So you got to see them at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. And the one thing I like to report on, sometimes they tweet about, is the DJ, right? And so the DJ hit me right out of the gate yesterday. First game, he plays Jim Croce, Bad Leroy Brown. I thought I was like 9 years old again. I was like, wow, I haven't heard that song literally since my childhood. So I never know what they're going to play. They sometimes pull out those dusty hits and then sometimes play, contemporary stuff. So you never know what this guy's going to play. It's kind of nuts.
Well, I'm glad you find extra ways to entertain yourself while at the tournament.
Well, it's 3 games a day. I mean,
right.
you could go crazy.
That is true. That is true. All right. Looking forward to hearing more from that tournament heading into next week when you can wrap it up for us. That'll do it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow talking more training camp and preseason game that we are going to get to preview, and we will do more on that program. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. Send in those mailbag questions on Twitter at LockedOnFlyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment over on YouTube. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. Now go check out the Locked On NHL podcast, where the season never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. You can find the link to Locked On NHL in the show notes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.